thought my midlife journey started with a bag, but it didn't. It started with a car that I couldn't even conceive that I would ever own. And the first night that I brought it home, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I climbed into the driver's seat and I cried in the dark. When I recall where this whole chapter started, it did not start with Louis Vuitton. It started in 2024. It was a season in my life that I could feel things changing, but I did not have a name for it. 3 of my 5 kids moved out within months of each other. So Mia was settled enough to get her own place. And Cruz and Elijah, well, they left for Eugene to play football at University of Oregon. So just like that, George and I found ourselves in the house that we raised our kids in with only 2 kids left. When I think about how I anticipated this particular milestone in my life, my kids starting to move out, I always envisioned that a moment would break me. I thought that I would be devastated. I thought that I would miss them like crazy. Of course I miss them. But something that I didn't expect, mixed in with all of that longing and sadness, was something else. It felt like a liberation. It's like 3 of the 5 kids moved out, so the logistics that I had when they were all home was considerably less. And what filled that space was just all of these thoughts and ideas and this creativity just started to emerge. So around this same time, my Hyundai Sonata, my 2013 Hyundai Sonata, she finally died. The timing was perfect because in lieu of my broken car, my dead car, because they said she couldn't be fixed, I was driving my cousin Stanley's Jeep because at the time that arrangement made sense for both of us. I needed a car, and at that time, he needed help covering the payment. So it worked out. But eventually, he needed his car back. And George, in very practical George manner, said it was time for us to get a car. I was extremely resistant to the idea. I did not have a car payment, and I definitely did not want one. So therefore, I wasn't open to something bigger, newer, nicer than what I had, because that meant more expensive and that meant a car payment. And that was absolutely non-negotiable. So naturally, we started where I felt safe, which was looking at used cars. At that time, I started getting really interested in Toyota because it's Toyota. I mean, they're so reliable. It's a car that's going to last. It's practical. When I look back, it's so obvious that I was still thinking like a mother of 5 because the car that I was looking for, I wanted something that had a 3rd row. Why? I have no idea because I only had 2 kids. But this is, of course, me in retrospect. This is something that I keep finding about midlife that's kind of funny. It's like your life starts to change, but your mindset, it follows later. It's like things have already changed, but your mind's not caught up yet. And this was the case. Because why else would I be looking for a 3rd row with 2 kids? So we go to the Toyota dealership and something caught my eye. It was a Grand Highlander. Had a 3rd row. I mean, the car in the showroom was so pretty. I remember it was like this really pretty red. It was like a burgundy-ish red. Very, very pretty. From a practicality standpoint, it made perfect sense to me. So when I inquired about it with the salesman, he kept fixating on the fact that it was a very expensive car. He kept saying, yeah, this one's super expensive. He did it over and over again. So much so that he wasn't really even keen to letting me test drive it. He didn't run my paperwork, nothing. This was the only salesperson I've ever met in my life that didn't even open up the possibility to me leaving with this vehicle. Like it just was not going to happen. So George and I left. So the next day I saw an advertisement for a white 2018 Lexus GX. So we called the Lexus dealership and we made an appointment. When we got to the Lexus dealership, our experience was totally and noticeably different than the dealership from the night before. The salesman did show us the car that we came to see, but then he asked me, what is it exactly that you're looking for? Like, what is it that you need in the vehicle? And without hesitation, I was like, I need a third row. And he said, well, this car doesn't have a third row. And I was like, ugh, hadn't thought about that. He said, though, we have a brand new model that just came out that does have a third row. It's called the TX. So there happened to be a TX in the showroom, but that wasn't a used car because it was a new model. It was a new car and it was white and it had chocolate brown leather interior. And when I got inside of the car, there were so many bells and whistles. It was pretty, not for me, period. Here's the thing. He let me test drive it. He shouldn't have let me test drive it. It was so beautiful, just beautiful. And it drove like it was on a cloud. He never once told me how expensive it was. He never made me feel foolish or unworthy for wanting it. And that changed everything. My non-negotiable? When I think about it now, it feels surreal because this car was more than anything I could have ever imagined for myself. Like, ever. I don't want to say that I felt like an imposter driving the car, but I definitely felt like major cosplay. Like, this, thank you, but this is not what I came here for. I bought the TX350 and I brought it home. And the next morning, before the sun came up, I woke up and went outside by myself. I opened the door to the new TX350 and I sat in the driver's seat. And there I sat for about 2 hours and I cried. And it wasn't because I felt guilty. And it wasn't because I was afraid. I was overwhelmed with gratitude. I cried because it didn't feel real. I cried because I spent so much of my life doing what was practical, what suited my family, what was needed out of necessity. And here I was, sitting in this car that felt like a blessing that I didn't even conceive in my mind to ask for. I prayed and I thanked God. And when I look back, that was the defining moment of my Act 2 journey. And it wasn't necessarily because the car was luxurious. I mean, she's luxurious though. The car made me confront the reality that my life was changing, whether I felt ready or not. My kids were leaving. My house was quieter. And I was beginning slowly to understand that wanting beautiful things, it didn't make me superficial or frivolous. It made me honest. That Lexus came before the bags. And that matters. That point matters because the bags didn't appear out of nowhere. They arrived in a season where my old identity was starting to shake up and something new was emerging. That Lexus was the first artifact of that shift, that Act 2. It was the first tangible thing that made me realize maybe my life can look different now. Maybe I'm allowed to sit in something so beautiful and call it mine. So when the bags entered the picture, they were never about fashion. They were a part of that same awakening. It wasn't status. It wasn't being performative. This was about permission. That's why the real beginning of Midlife Through the Bags is not a handbag at all. It's about a woman sitting in a parked Lexus before sunrise. And she is crying because her life has slowly gotten bigger than the life that she has ever allowed herself to have.